God-filled, part 4, soul player integration. Right, in this video, we're going to discuss what happens when we switch our console back on. We access our soul player. We unlock new maps to play and simulate in our game reality. I'll give you a mind reboot exercise which will basically help you integrate your soul and anchor it into this physical avatar, because it's just a frequency. It's not a physical thing. So we need to anchor that frequency into this player to give us the direction of where to go. So let's get to it. So before we begin, I've left a link down below with all the links to all of these slides from all of my videos. You can catch them so you can zoom in, look at the diagrams a bit more clearly, and just go wild with it. So let's get to it. Console switched on, 5D Unity map now available. What is this all about? So you've switched your console back on now. And when you switch your console back on, a new map is available. However, to access this 5D Unity map, we must start replugging our rest of our energy centers. The one that we spoke about in part 2, where we discussed about the 7 main energy plugs. We must switch our console back on and then start replugging the rest of the plugs. So there's a bit more work to do before we can access this 5D map. So let's have a look. Right, so in part 2, we discussed the 3D map and the offline player modes, right? So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out, because I dive a little bit deeper into how it is harnessing your energy. However, I'll just quickly touch upon this. When you are playing in the offline player mode, you're playing the duality consciousness, you're connected to a 3D map. The 3D map is the 4 C's, it's control, capitalize, competition, and consume. We are divided and we're just consumerism by government, education, media, and corporations. They're all artificially created to harness your energy. However, when you unplug yourself from the 3D map, when you take back your personal power, you detach, you have no hold into the energy control systems, you start replugging your spiritual energies. What happens? Your console goes back online. Your console is basically your self-esteem, your willpower, and your personal power. You're no longer giving your power away to these control systems, and you take it back within yourself. And then there's a stage, there's a process, because you can't just jump straight into the 5D map. Once you turn your console back on, take your personal power, you can't just go, okay, let me go to the 5D map. There's work to be done. We need to start working on ourselves and ascending and unblocking our energy plugs, right? There's a levels to this. So as you turn your console back on, you take back control of your mental and emotional energy. Then you find confidence in one's own worth, abilities, and morals. Once you start doing that, to access the 5D map, we need to understand that we need to have an open heart and an open mind. That's the requirements to get into the 5D Unity map. So as we know that these two are the requirements, they are 5 stages after your console comes back online. Stage 1 is to turn on your console, take back your personal power. Stage 2 is to plug back in your heart. Plug back in your heart and understand your self-worth, your value, and your acceptance, right? Unconditional love. The 5D Unity map understands that we are all one. What I do to myself affects other people, and what other people do affects yourself, because we're all interconnected. So it's unconditional love for everyone and everything, because we need to understand that if we are based on condition, I'll do this for you and then I'll love you based on condition, then you're falling into the 3D map, because it's I do this, you do that, and then it's not true unconditional love and acceptance. Compassion, empathy, and peace are all plugs of the heart. Then stage 3 is the throat. You speak your truth. You speak your truth. You express yourself and you communicate. These are all stages that need to be overcome before we can get to the 5D. And then stage 4 is insight, intuition, right? You transcend the non-duality, you transcend the intellect mind. Then you tap into your mind's eye, your awareness, right? So all of these plugs need work. You need to go through these stages of unlocking and grounding the spiritual energy within yourself. Then when you unlock the final one, which is the crown plug, is self-realization, it's universal source consciousness, and it's the God field, right? Then you access your soul player. You're able to stream your soul player into your game simulation. Higher dimensional self is activated then, right? So once you activate that and get that soul player in and grounded, your lower dimensional self becomes grounded. And then you're able to play as your lower dimensional self, directed by your higher self, your soul player, which is frequency. It's not a physical thing. Your higher self is not a physical thing. It's a frequency which is able to communicate to you via your intuition, your mind's eye, right? It's your sixth sense. Once you connect to this 5D unity map, you are playing in oneness and unity. You're free from any judgment, comparison, and competition, because you know you're all one of that divine code, right? The unity map is the divine code. We are all interconnected. So these are the stages of moving away from the 3D to the 5D, but work must be done, right? And then you become co-creators of this map. You're no longer being harnessed, you start co-creating in your own God field. Human avatar soul integration update. Last slide, we spoke about moving from the 3D map into the 5D map, but work must be done, right? We'll be oscillating between the two maps while we ground our spiritual energies and anchor the soul player into this physical body. So you will be going through a transition period of jumping between the 3D and the 5D. I'll give you an example of being stuck in the 3D map while you're trying to move and transition into the 5D. Right? My granddad purchased a bit of land in India in 1990, let's say. Right? He purchased a bit of land, but his intention was for the family to build a family home in India on that bit of land. However, years has passed, my granddad is gone now, and we have no intention of building a house on that bit of land. However, what my granddad paid here, the value of that land has increased now. We have no intention of building property. So the energy is kind of stuck, right? Because that land's value is to build properties on that. However, the value potential is being restricted by holding on to the land without selling it. So I spoke to my dad the other day and he said, I've got a property developer that's given me an offer. I'm looking to sell it. However, I'm not sure now because he got some advice from someone and someone said, you've got a gold mine there. Hold out for a few more years. That land is going to be way more valuable. My dad was in two minds now. He's like, shall I just wait for the land price to go up or shall I just sell it? So then I gave him my perspective from the unity map, right? I said to him, the land, we're not going to build nothing on it, right? What granddad paid, it's already increased in value. So you've already got personal gain, right? You've already capitalized and right now you're holding the land, you're holding and controlling money and resources, right? Because it's stuck energy. It has potential to have a house or two houses built on it and for someone to come and live in them houses, right? But this person has said to him, it's a gold mine, sit on that land, the value of it is going to go up. However, that's played into the 3D map of personal gain, right? You're holding on for capital to increase, right? So that's the competition map of the 3D. My dad's had issues with this bit of land already. He's had squatters and people trying to overtake and take that land, right? So it's been a stressful situation. There's been stressful times, and I said it's just been a headache for you. So it's time to just get rid of it, right? Because what happens is when you get your money back, it's value for value. You give the land to the property developer, which is a value for value exchange. You've already made your bit of gain here, and that energy is released for the property developer to create 2 houses, to give 2 families houses, and that is allowing energy to flow, because that's all it is. It's energy flow. If you're just stuck with that, you're controlling resources, you're controlling money for personal gain, rather than allowing the energy exchange and allowing things to just flow, because then you're co-playing. It's a unity. What you give to someone, they will give to someone else, and it's a constant exchange of value. So taking that example, the universe operates on a universal law of giving and receiving, right? The universe operates through a dynamic exchange of value to value, right? You cannot get nothing for anything. You can't get something for nothing in the universe, right? You can't get anything for free. Everything has its value exchange. Otherwise, it will violate the law of the universe. There's always something to be exchanged for everything to stay in balance. So the law of giving and receiving, right? The law of giving and receiving states that the more we give without expecting anything in return, the more will be received. More simply, what we receive is a direct proportion to what we give without expectation. So when we give without expecting anything back, the universe is able to provide you more. So let's just give you an example here. So you are a person here, you give to this person without no expectation, right? And then that person gives to that person gives to that person, and the universe can give you abundance back because you gave without expectation. However, if you look at it like this, you give to this person, but you give with expectation of this person giving it back to you. Now the energy exchange is blocked, right? Because you give with expectation. So only money can or energy can be returned from that one person. However, when you give without any expectation, you allow it to flow, 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 and the universe can provide you back. That is the law of giving and receiving. So make sure when we give, we have no expectation. We give it freely. And this is why this example makes sense, that we just give, sell the land freely, allow it to go, allow the energy to flow, allow the property developer to develop 2 houses on that bit of land, give it and sell it to 2 families. Yes, he'll make his money, but his energy will be going into creating 2 houses. So that's his energy exchange to these 2 families, right? So it's a constant flow of giving and receiving. So I said to my dad, just get rid of it, sell it, headache done, and you are playing on the 5D map, right? So I hope that one makes sense. Because lastly, just want to touch upon every action and decision you make creates an intention into the universe. Whether you do it consciously or unconsciously, every decision you are making is creating an intention, a movement in the universe. Because we live in cause and effect. Because we create loads of causes and then we live the effect in our God field, in our game simulation. So if you look at this one quickly again, the cause is my dad sells the property, which is the cause, and then the effect is 2 families get to live on that land, and that's the effect, right? Rather than being stuck, playing in the 3D map, trying to control resources for personal gain and holding on to it, because that is what the 3D map wants us to do. The 3D map wants us to hold and stuck energy. So mind reboot, soul integration exercise. As promised, I said I've got an exercise for you guys so you can start anchoring your soul player into your physical body. Right, so just to understand that we've got the offline player, which is your lower dimensional self, and then you've got your soul player, which is your high dimensional self. So you've got your lower mind and you've got the higher mind. The higher mind with your soul player, anchoring that frequency into this lower dimensional mind. We need to understand one thing. We need to create a relationship between the two. So part one is to recognize and create that relationship between the two minds. Understanding that there are two different minds and creating that balance and that relationship. Okay? So the first part of this exercise, I want you to name your offline player. Remember in the last video where I introduced Jungle, my offline player? I want you to name your offline player. And why do you do this? You do this because once you start anchoring your soul, that voice, that higher version of yourself can have conversations with your lower dimensional self. And you can have this relationship. You will have them. I always have conversations with Jungle. But it's very critical to understand these two differences, right? Because when you just fall into the unconscious, and then your soul player can be disconnected, and then you're running around unconsciously, and then we need to pull back and recognize there's two versions of you. There's two players here, right? The control needs to be with the soul player, because the soul player is playing the highest version of yourself. Lower dimensional self wants comfortability, it wants to relax, it wants to be safe, it doesn't want to really do much, right? It wants to protect itself. Whereas your soul player wants to grow and flow. Oh, yo, yo. So once you name your offline player, then I want you to list all your offline player modes, right? So in the last video, we discussed about playing the victim, playing the modes of judgment, taking things personal, blaming, people pleasing, being the savior. So these are all the different modes we can fall into when we're playing in the offline player mode. But also, everyone plays different modes in their life, right? Depending on their upbringing and all of these things. But the main goal here is to become aware and conscious of your unconscious modes. You'll find a list to all of the different modes in the workbook attached down below. And then once you've done this part of the exercise and identified your unconscious modes, so you're able to put light on them and be aware of when you fall into them, then you can start practicing part two, which is the reboot, right? The reboot is to build your awareness. It's to build your awareness between your soul player and your offline player. Building that awareness and catching yourself when you're falling in these offline modes, because we all do it. We all just fall unconscious, right? So having this reboot your mind to stay aligned. Reboot your mind to stay aligned. The method is quite simple, right? You close your eyes. You take 10 deep breaths. Each breath, you inhale for 5. Hold for 5. And exhale for 5. Right, so you're taking 10 deep breaths. You're inhaling for 5. You're holding for 5. And you exhale for 5. After you take them 10 deep breaths, then while your eyes are still closed, repeat the following sentences 3 times each. Wherever my attention goes, my energy flows, in which that thing grows. I command to re-establish my connection to my soul player. Then ask yourself, what are you doing right now at this moment in time? Is it helping you play at your highest level? Then open your eyes and continue with what you are doing, or switch to a more intentional action which is more in line to play on your highest level. And that's it. So as you do this reboot exercise, the tip here is for the best results. I used to do this personally all the time. I had my phone set up for every single hour to basically go off and remind me to do this mind reboot exercise. So every hour I used to tune in and do this, reconnect back to my soul player. So just set your alarm on your phone for every hour. Do this to about 8 to 10 times a day and see how it goes, because what you're doing is you're building your awareness. You're anchoring your soul player into the body, and you're building the awareness between your offline player modes and your soul player modes, and you catch yourself when you're falling into the offline player modes. So this is a very powerful exercise that we can all practice and start using and start fusing and integrating your soul player into this game, interplay your God field. So good luck with your mind reboots. If you would like for me to do a mind reboot guided video so I can go along and do this guided connection with you guys, let me know in the comments down below. But you will find a workbook linked down below in the video description down below. So download that workbook, name your players, list your modes, and then do your mind reboot exercises 8 to 10 times a day. So reboot the mind to stay aligned. And that is it for today. Till the end. Oh, shit! I kick my fat. I always do that. I need to be careful. So before we begin, no waffle, just go. You gotta flow with the soul player, yo. With the soul player, yo. You got to flow. You got to flow with the soul player, yo. You got to flow with the soul player, yo. Integration. You got to play with the soul player, yo. You got to play with the soul player, flow. Flow with the soul player. 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 Reboot your mind to stay aligned. 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 So, rebooting your mind, the method. So, I hope you found this video useful. Give it a like, comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when I drop new videos. Feel free to connect to me on all social media platforms. Let's make this journey amazing together, and I'll catch you in the next one. Send you much love and light, my beautiful souls. Goodbye.